Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to Life Made Well. My name is Joyce Holthouse, and today I am so excited. I have a great friend on here with me. I'm excited for you to hear her story. Her intermittent fasting journey has just been amazing. She's had an awesome transformation, but I think even more importantly is she's maintained that transformation now for, I think it's 4 years, isn't it, Michelle?
Yeah. Mhm.
And so get ready. This is going to be an inspiring conversation for you with different tips and milestones, unexpected benefits. And again, if you're on a health journey or considering intermittent fasting, this is a must watch for you. I would encourage you to hit subscribe so you can hear future stories as well. But Michelle, I'm just excited to get into this with you and for people to hear your amazing story. And for those of you that don't know, I'll just do a little intro, Michelle, because I want to
Go for
brag
it.
on you.
Go for
Michelle
it.
hosts an amazing podcast called Fast and Fabulous, with inspiring stories that she has all the time. She is also an admin of a Facebook group that I'm a part of that is a huge encouragement for people that want to participate in intermittent fasting. And we're big believers of the clean fast, which is from Jen Stevens' book, Fast, Feast, Repeat. Michelle is a busy mom of two boys who are adorable. I love seeing the pictures of them. And she's a wife as well. And Michelle and I consider ourselves great friends, but we've never met in person, although we came really close in
Yeah.
February when I was down in Florida, but we both had crazy schedules and it didn't work out. So, Michelle, welcome. And thank you so much for coming on and sharing your journey with us today.
Thank you so much, Joyce. And it's great to be here, and I'm always happy to share if it's going to inspire just one person. Just one.
Mm, I know we both feel the same in that. So Michelle, I know this is what you ask people and I'm going to ask you the same is what inspired you to start your weight loss journey with intermittent fasting?
Oh my goodness. So that is a fully loaded question, and you're right. It's my favorite question. So what inspired me to start with intermittent fasting is I was only 37 years old with so many health problems and considered to be not morbidly obese, but pretty close. I was about 200 pounds on a 5'3" frame. And, at the end of the day, I was very uncomfortable. Had a ton of health issues, not major ones, but just little ones, too many for a 37-year-old. And I was miserable. I was just drowning in anxiety and stress, and not to mention all the health issues. So I had gone to a doctor's office in January of 2020 to get a physical because I was way overdue, and stepped on that scale. And at that point, it was January. I had been trying to eat better and exercise more. And so I probably had lost at that point maybe like 7 or 8 pounds. So I weighed in at the doctor's that day, and it read 192 pounds on the scale. And I almost passed out because I had been working hard to lose weight in like the past 3 weeks. And I understood it wasn't going to come off super fast, but I was like, well, geez, I probably lost a couple pounds and I'm still in the 190s. Okay. Like I had no idea. So in those weeks following, and let me mention something that is very important. At that doctor's appointment that day, my doctor, who just I don't understand, I had spelt out all of my health concerns to him. He had taken all my lab work, and I did not have one answer, not one. And on that day, when I weighed in at 192 pounds on my 5'3" frame, not the doctor, not the nurse, nobody in that office said anything to me about how have you thought, like, maybe we could try to lose some weight. Maybe let's try that. Or, what do you eat in a typical day? What
Mm,
is your stress level? How are you sleeping? Nobody asked me any of those questions. I went home. I started to do my own research because that is what I do. And so I came upon, I mean, I had heard of intermittent fasting. I had heard of it. I thought it was insane. And I thought, surely I have to eat every few hours because I have to keep my metabolism going, because that is what everyone told me to do.
Right.
And that's what everyone tells it, that's what we hear in the noisy world. So I thought, surely I could not do this. And then I kept digging. And I reached out to a good friend of mine who I trusted implicitly. He was a personal trainer. Even though we had differing views on nutrition, he was really smart. And I said, does intermittent fasting work? And he goes, yeah, if you're consistent. I go, enough. Okay. If I'm consistent, I could be consistent. Sure. So I was fed up because consistency was something I could do. And so at that point, I realized consistency was also the reason I never succeeded at any of the other diets I had tried. So I dove in deep. I started looking on Facebook for a group, and I really couldn't find one that I really connected with. And then a friend of mine sent me an invitation to Jen Stevens' giant support group back then. I think at that point there was like a couple 100,000 people in it. I was just a lurker, for about a week. And then I just dove in and I said, I got the Zero app, which is just like a fasting timer. And I dove in on January 24th of 2020. And I have not looked back at all, because the changes I started to see within the first month were just, it wasn't even about the weight loss, because yeah, I did lose a bit of weight, but it was all of the other health benefits that I was experiencing. I didn't care if I lost another pound. Honestly.
Right.
But I lost 50 pounds between January and October, and I kept it off since. So yeah, it's been one strange ride, but a glorious one.
Well, and I mean, Michelle, think back 4 years, right? It's been over
Yeah.
4 years now.
Mhm.
What do you think was the biggest challenge that you faced in the beginning?
Honestly, the biggest challenge for me was just getting out of my own way, because
Mm.
I was so conditioned, and a lot, we all are. We eat the same. We were told breakfast is the most important meal of the day.
Oh,
Every
yeah.
single day we get up and that's what we do. We eat breakfast. So it was just changing what I've already learned and how my body was already eating for 37 years, and do it differently. So I guess my biggest challenge was just getting over myself. I knew I could do it in a sense. Like, I didn't know if I'd be successful. I started small because
Mm.
I was like, if I start small and I can achieve this, then I'm just going to add a little bit every day. Or when I feel like I can add some, I'm going to add it. So for me, the starting slow was really a beneficial way to do it, because it allowed me to give myself the grace and be patient with myself, in order to, get the confidence to keep going. Because in the beginning, even though, it's we're sitting here now and I'm saying, oh, it was easy. If I'm going back, it wasn't like anything else, anything new. It's not going to be super easy. Anything worth it isn't going to be easy at first, until it is easy.
Mm.
And then like, listen, you change the way you think, you change your habits, you change your life. So this is not a diet. We'll talk about that soon, but like, and that's why it's so sustainable. That's why I'm still sitting here 4 years later.
And so, Michelle, when you say you started slow, like
Yeah.
just give us some numbers. Like, what was that protocol, so to speak, that you started with? Was it 12 hours, 10 hours, 14?
Yeah. So I had looked at like some protocols and stuff. And so for me, I started like with a 14-hour
Okay.
fast. And it was, to me, it was not that. I remember the first day I hit 14 hours and I'm like, wait, that wasn't even hard. Like, I don't
Right.
even feel
Right.
hungry right now. Okay. So the next day I did 15,
Okay.
and that was a little bit harder. But I think by week 2, I was up to about 16, a 16-8 kind of protocol. And
Okay.
that was pretty easy for me. Like, I liked it, but I felt like an 8-hour window wasn't going to be what I needed, because it was so long of a time. and I was kind of like going crazy a little bit, like, oh, it's 8 hours. Let me get all the food in 8 hours. But that's not why we're here. So,
It's like it's a lot of us start that way, right? I've got 8 hours and
right.
we're eating for future hunger. We're eating because the clock's ticking, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I quickly learned that 16-8, while it's a great place to start, it isn't exactly a weight loss protocol for everyone. Actually, it's not really a weight loss protocol for most people, I would say. However, so when I realized after many weeks of adjusting, I think it took me about 8 weeks or so to burn through those glucose stores and adjust. Once I did, I moved on to more of an 18 to 20 hour fast with a 4 to 6 hour window. That was my weight loss protocol. I kind of tend to go back on the weekends. Even when I was losing weight, I'd do more of like a 17-7 or an 18-6 on the weekends. But yeah, that was my sweet spot for losing. And once in a while, I toss in a 24-hour fast, maybe like once a month. It's kind of just change it up. But no day ever looked the same. No day
Right.
ever looked the same, and it shouldn't. It should be
Right.
always just a little different. If you feel like 18 to 20 hours is your weight loss protocol as well, don't ever just like be waiting for the clock at 18 hours every single day, because your body will get used to it.
Well, and you bring up a key point there, right? Because a lot of it is about starting to listen to your body, and that, we've talked about appetite correction.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when you're a new intermittent fasting, that's what's really hard. At least I know for me about 16-8
Yes.
is, 8 hours, I can eat a lot in 8 hours. And of
Oh,
course,
me too.
I don't know when you started, it was just pretty much eat whatever you want,
Mhm.
correct? Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so, as former dieters, as a former compulsive overeater myself, I could eat a lot of whatever I want in that time frame.
Same.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
I did exactly nothing to my diet at first. I ate exactly the same. I drank exactly the same. And I quickly realized that the same for me was not what was serving me at all. It didn't happen overnight. It happened in, over a few months. It's still happening. Um, but this lifestyle allows you to realize the foods, the drinks, the people, the things in your life that are toxic, and you not just want to remove them, it's like you have to remove them, because
Mm,
you've done so much to get here, to get to this point. You've removed all of the excess weight. You've removed all of your excess health issues, or as many as you could. And now you're here, and all you want is to just remove all of the toxicity from your life. And so the food is where it started. And when I was eating whatever I wanted, I quickly realized that's how I got so overweight and so unhealthy. So no, I quickly realized within a couple of months that I could not eat whatever I wanted. And it wasn't because I didn't. Let me go back to the want part. Um, I get a lot of, well, I wouldn't say flashback or whatever, that I have a diet mindset. And I don't really feel that way, because if I did, the things that I ate, I wouldn't necessarily want. I would more feel like I had to eat them.
mm,
But that's not the case here. I
yeah.
want the healthier options. Why? Because it makes me feel good. It makes my body feel good. It makes me feel like I've been nourished. And that other food I was eating, no, it wasn't doing that for me.
And that's such a great point because there is a difference in the mindset when it's diet mentality, right? There's the guilt, there's the
Mhm.
shame, there's the
Yeah.
and and yet when it's eating the foods you love that love you back, right? um, that makes a big difference. And I think, Michelle, you had a lot of health issues coming into this,
Mm.
and you saw the difference happening with those. And I would imagine you're still seeing the healing that goes on inside your body, Talk a little bit about that. Like, what have you learned over the last 4 years about what does work? What helps Michelle's body feel good? And the thing that I love is like what works for you and your body, what might be different for me, right? Like there's things that I could eat that I feel healthier about. And that's kind of the beauty of this, right? It's a study of one. And so,
Oh gosh, absolutely. Like I cannot express enough about bio individuality.
mm,
And what that means is that we're just all so unique. And what works for Joyce, what works for me may not work for you or anyone else out there. So yeah, it is, I call it an evolution of diet, of not diet, I hate that word. An evolution of my nutrition, bio individuality. Yes, of my bio individuality and evolution. So over the past 4 years, I was a person in the beginning who would have no problem eating a big thing of pasta and having a bowl of ice cream afterwards and then drinking a bottle of wine. That was totally normal to me. And yes, I said a whole bottle of wine. I would drink a whole bottle by myself. And for the record, I may have had a problem. So I digress, but that was my typical
sure.
evening look. So, um, and then breakfast would be like, I thought, having a big smoothie that was filled with like a protein powder that was total crap, that was great. And then I would have at lunch, a soup or a salad, or, and I loved salads, big, huge salads with like that spring mix and stuff. And like,
Oh yeah.
I would just throw all this stuff in it. And I thought I was doing healthy things. And, for some people that might be healthy. For me, it wasn't doing me a lot of favors. And I didn't learn that right away. I didn't learn it right away. It took me 4 years to actually move through this evolution and find out what's best for Michelle.
Mm-hmm.
So I did a lot of researching, a lot of digging, because a lot of one of the health problems I had before fasting was I had IBS, and I've always had a very sensitive digestive tract. And so a lot, not the IBS, but some other weird things were popping up. And I'm like, what is happening right now? Because like at that point I was like 3 years in and I was healthy. I'm in the best shape of my life. Like, what is happening? And so I did a lot of research and I kept hearing this word oxalate. And
Hmm.
I'm going to explain to you what oxalate is. Oxalates are a plant's defense mechanism. And it's been kind of tossed around in our world that there's this crazy book out there that says plants are bad. Well, let me clear this up. It is not a crazy book. It's actually a very informative book. It's called Toxic Superfoods. I highly recommend it. If you're having digestive issues and you eat a ton of vegetables and plants, you might want to reconsider and look at your fridge and after reading this book and see, if I just remove this one and this one, those are the high oxalate ones, and see how you do. This book in no way says that all plants are bad. I want to say that again. This book in no way says all plants are bad. Plants have lots of wonderful micronutrients that your body should be getting. However, the high oxalate foods or vegetables in this case are spelled out in this book, Toxic Superfoods. And it's a wonderful read. I highly recommend you pick it up. You could literally just skim it and go to the chart with the high oxalate foods and like take a picture of it with your phone and just stay away from those foods. Am I saying that everyone's having a reaction to oxalates? No, because lots of people eat spinach and stuff out there. Sorry, let me go back. Spinach, surprise! Spinach is the highest oxalate food out there, next to almonds and next to sweet potatoes. And those three foods right there have been marketed to us as these superfoods, right?
Right.
When in reality, they have tons of oxalates that could be very, very difficult for some people to digest. So it's just one of those things. It's a tool. If you're having digestive issues and you've done all this stuff to correct them and you don't know why, read this book, try removing the high oxalate foods from your life, see how you feel.
Yeah.
But
I
yeah.
mean, I love that, Michelle, because it's, first of all, it's like, well, why? I mean, try it. If you're having some issues, if you think it could be this, then try it, right?
What's the
I
harm?
mean, that's the beauty, I think, of intermittent fasting. It's that we can try these things to see if we feel better, if we feel, healthier, right? I
Of
mean,
course.
that's really what it's about, because it gets to a point, right, with when you're in maintenance, like you are, like I've been with intermittent fasting. Now I think you focus even more on, I just want to feel my best.
Yeah.
I always tell people, at 70 years old, I don't want to just live a long life. I want to live a thriving, active life.
Right.
And, there are things that we can do that are going to impact that for us, right? That's going to help us age more healthily, help us, just to feel better on a day-to-day basis. So I
100.
love that. And I love that you are willing, just like you dove deep and researched intermittent fasting, and now you're diving deep and researching what's going to work for me. I mean, Jen Stevens talks about that all the time. We're all a study of one.
Absolutely.
And, maybe I can eat sweet potatoes without anything,
Mhm.
but someone else might find that they don't agree with them, or,
Yeah, and it's not just, honestly, Joyce, it's not just about the digestion. It's also about bone density, because
mm,
oxalates actually deplete your bone density, and
oh,
this is
wow.
something that, like, people who are at high risk for osteoporosis, it runs in my family. My mother has it. My grandmother has it. My mother's the one who actually brought up oxalates to me, and I'm
Okay.
like, you're crazy. I'm like, that's insane. Spinach is healthy. Who the hell says this? Like, really? So I thank my mom for telling me that, because it's like, I thought she was insane, but then I took a deeper dive, and go figure, she was right. But
Wow.
she was misinformed, though. I will say, she thought by
Yeah.
cooking spinach you could cook oxalates out. Actually,
Uh,
when you cook the food, the oxalates go up.
I was
So
going to say, I would imagine they intensify,
yeah,
but
they do.
that's
Um,
really good to know. That's
yeah.
really good information, because, it's kind of funny. Like you said, we've been told this, this is so good, da, da, da. But think about it. I remember when I first started intermittent fasting, when I first started getting certified as a coach in intermittent fasting,
Mm,
I learned, because like you had said this earlier, breakfast is the most important meal of the day. And
mm.
where did that come from? You and I both know that came as a part of an advertisement in the 50s for breakfast
It was a
cereals.
cereal. Yeah, it was a
It
cereal
was a
industry.
Yeah, it was a cereal company who started that breakfast is the most important meal of the day, which isn't really true. What is true is how you break your fast, which is break fast is important, right? Nutrient dense food, the things that
Mhm.
we know. But I think some of those myths, if you will, or things that we've been told over and over again that we just automatically believe, maybe we haven't really researched. So,
It's
man,
interesting what we're fed and what we believe and where it's coming from.
yes. Yeah. What did they always say? Follow the money, right? Follow the money
Well, that's
trail.
just it. That's
Yeah.
just it. And
Yeah.
who like, well, I could get all crazy
Yeah.
right now, but I'm not
I
going
know. We
to.
probably both did.
I'm not going to go in that on that soapbox. However,
Yeah.
it is big pharma in the pockets of not just the medical field, but like the schools where the doctors go to learn in the med
Right.
schools. They're in the
Yeah.
med schools pockets. So it
Yeah.
is really cultivating it has already cultivated a culture of doctors that literally are taught to treat symptoms with pills, because
Yeah.
the people who make the pills are putting money in their they're getting money in their pockets. So
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
it's a
It's
cycle of money.
it is.
So
It
I would
totally is.
encourage anyone to please do your own research, advocate for your own health. And the
Mm,
best way you
good.
can do that, you could start by clean fasting, number one. And then the second thing you could do is make the investment, find a functional medicine doctor who's going to listen to you and work
Mm.
with you.
So true. So
Yeah.
true. So, Michelle, you mentioned clean fasting, which you and I are huge proponents of. Um, would you, for those listening that might be new, that maybe don't know that term, would you define clean fasting?
Yeah, sure. To me, there's no other way to fast unless it's clean, because the reason is if you put flavoring in, or if you're having flavor or fat cream in your coffee, um, you are consuming sugar, you are consuming food. So the basic major difference between clean and dirty fasting is that you are not consuming any flavors, you are not consuming any food. So that means black coffee, black tea, or green tea plain, no sweeteners, no flavors, or water. It's such a beautiful thing. You can have those things, but everything else during your clean fast, it's a no. That's it.
And and so people that say, yeah, but lemon in your water, we've always heard that's really good.
Oh, I love that question, Joyce. I'm so glad you asked. Lemon in your water is a flavor, people. And what is lemon itself? It's a food.
It
It's
is
a
a food.
no.
It is. Yeah. I know I've had these discussions with people so many times. Oh, what about zero calorie, like things like LaCroix or, the zero calorie sparkling waters that are flavored, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, no, no, and no, because your body responds to that.
Correct.
And so yeah, thank you. I always
Yeah.
feel like it's important to define because there are a lot of voices out there now about intermittent fasting. And
So many.
the thing that I have found is when people are struggling with intermittent fasting, when they say, well, I get too hungry and and 9 times out of 10, they're not clean fasting. And that's what's going
100%.
on. So I'm so glad that, you brought that up, and thank you for defining
Of
that
course.
for
And
everyone.
I could elaborate a little on what you just said. That struggle that you hear so much from your clients or whoever in your group, I hear it too. I had I'll just tell you a quick little story here on your point, which is I had my cousin, she was trying to lose some weight. She called me one day and she said, Michelle, I'm struggling so hard. I'm trying to do fasting and I've lost a little weight, but I'm just at a standstill and I don't know what to do. And
Hmm.
I said, and I know her so well, and she's pretty healthy. She eats pretty healthy. And I'm like, this is weird. And she's telling me, like, I'm fasting like 18 hours, but I'm like struggling to get there. And I also know that she's not a big breakfast person. So I'm like, that's also weird because I didn't think this would be that hard for her. I go, Jess, what are you eating? Or I'm sorry, what are you drinking in your clean fast? Coke Zero? What? I said, Jess, no. And then I sent her the clean fast chart and I was like, just black coffee, just water. She's like, I could do that. I could do that. Um, she called me back in like 3 months and she's like, I lost 30 pounds.
Wow. Wow.
And literally, it was when she stopped drinking Coke Zero in the morning and just switched to her black coffee and water. She was 100% back on the ching. She didn't have that much weight to lose, but
Right.
she did it pretty quick. And now that's not typical. I will say that is not typical
Right.
weight loss timeline there. Wow, balloons.
I
Cool.
have no idea.
I'm so woohoo.
Woo,
Um,
okay, we're celebrating that
why not?
evidently.
It's Tuesday. All right. So yeah, no, that was her
Yeah.
problem is that the Coke Zero.
Yeah.
So yeah, I
And
mean,
yeah. And I mean, and I think of too, like when you stop putting those chemicals in your body as well, like what a difference, right? What a
oh,
difference.
those chemicals, it's so many. It's so gross. Like
It
if you
is.
look at what goes in there and then you Google each chemical and you find out exactly what it is, you don't want to put that in your body anymore, trust me.
Right? Oh, I know. I know. So, Michelle, again, thank you so much for being on.
Of course.
Last question that I have for you that I always
Yeah.
like to ask at the end, but I know people are listening that are maybe contemplating starting intermittent fasting or that have started and they're new at it. What advice would you give to people that are maybe just starting their intermittent fasting journey?
The best advice I could have is keep an open mind Just start. There's no perfect time to start changing your life. Just change your lifestyle. And do not think of this as a diet or a quick fix, because it's not. You have to commit yourself 100%, and you will be successful if you're consistent.
That is absolutely fantastic advice, Michelle. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time. I want to thank everyone for listening. And again, go ahead and hit subscribe to the channel if you want to learn more. And intermittent fasting tips, I try to post every week, just with things that are going to help you on the journey to a better health and a better life. So thank you again, everyone, for listening. And Michelle, thank you so much.
Oh, you are so welcome.